is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
Good morning, American. It's Friday.
Welcome to it. Great to have you with us. 888-900-3393. Pat Unleashed on Twitter. It's a special Freaky Friday today.
Wow.
Yeah. We're going to explore, once a month, we decided, we're going to explore some of these conspiracy theories. And the first one that we stumbled upon was the moon landing being a hoax. And we stumbled upon that because we were talking about the explosion of the SpaceX rocket.
Right.
The largest rocket, I think, ever, right? The most powerful rocket in history. They got it off the launch pad, and it was
Which was a success, we're told.
Yeah, it was a success. And it went a ways. You know, it was up there for what, 3 or 4 minutes or something before they and we blew it up. Well, we didn't.
Well, it started to crash.
I had nothing to do with it.
The U.S. government stepped in and said, we will not be competed with.
So they blew it up because it was starting to flip around and whatnot. And so it was pretty cool explosion, and everybody liked it. And it was basically a success, according to SpaceX.
Yeah.
So... but we got to talking about the fact, and I think this is one of the things Bart Sibrel talks about. We got to talking about the fact that we can't do this again. 54 years later, it's taking us this long to go back to the moon with all the technology we have. And I mentioned, you know, your cell phone in your pocket is, what, 1 million times more powerful than the technology that got us to the moon? I mean... The moon technology wouldn't do any of the things that we have today. I mean, it's like, it was, what was it? Like a calculator or something.
Right.
Those computers.
It's frustrating to think that we have all this technology in the last 50 plus years, and yet, like you said, why aren't we going back?
Why aren't we?
And then it opens up a lot of questions.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to make his point for him because I don't buy into it.
So you're already decided that...
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Well, no, I've got an open mind.
Okay.
I've got an open mind.
All right, good.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that...
Okay.
Innocent before proof.
Percentage. Give us a percentage.
99.9.
Okay, all right.
9,
Good.
8.
It's not 100.
It's not 100. It's not 100, but it's pretty close to that. But, you know, I was, 9 years old when we went to the moon. I remember watching it on TV. They could have tricked me. I was only 9.
Sure. And we were all watching it on those little 12-inch black and white TVs.
Yes. Right.
Good
right.
point.
I'll never forget, we were driving around the mean streets of Helena. I don't remember. Maybe we were going out to dinner or something.
Really?
And we were dodging bullets along the way.
I was going to say,
of course.
That's a dangerous task.
And I remember listening to it on the radio, and then we raced home so that we could see it on TV. And that's just something you don't forget. You know, it's like for those who were old enough, the Kennedy assassination. But it's great that we can't close the door because we got the sound from the other studio.
That's good. That's good.
So that always helps.
It's just a broadcast room.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We're just on the air now. Hey, by the way, we have a fixed date for when the door gets fixed.
I don't believe
we do not.
We do.
That is not
already
true.
May 6th. Bam! They're going to take care of it May 6th.
Okay.
And I'm like,
sure.
You've been told that?
Wait, already?
You've been told that.
I've been told that. Yeah.
Okay.
Legitimately been told May 6th, which is a week from today.
Yeah, that's Saturday.
I mean, we're still
okay. Yeah. Well, they want to fix it when we're not here.
We're still in the middle of supply chain issues, so we're going to get new doors and all the new frame and everything.
That's what I've been told via email.
Okay. Yes. I would believe that the moon landing is a hoax before I will believe that this door is going to be repaired. That's for sure.
Okay. All right. Now, in the meantime, there's another weird video that came up from, is this like a Broward County Council
this was just
member?
a couple of weeks ago. So when we were talking about, hey, did we go to the moon? Not. A listener sent us this video from a guy talking to the Broward County Council. Mm-hmm. And so
he goes a little beyond
and he spliced in some video evidence. And so I thought maybe before we get to Bart here, we could set it up with this presentation just a few weeks ago.
All right. Here it is.
Afternoon, Commissioners. Today, I'd like to bring to your attention a potential fraud on an enormous scale happening in York County.
Brevard.
There's now clear evidence of NASA using numerous methods to grossly mislead the public about astronauts being on the International Space Station. During interior ISS scenes from NASA's own live feed, the use of wires, harnesses, green screens, and virtual reality have been detected to achieve the appearance of a weightless environment. Examples of this include astronauts fading in and out of the screen, green screen glitches, grabbing objects that aren't really there, pulling on invisible wires, getting tangled in their harnesses, and even astronauts appearing out of thin air. This begs the obvious question.
Kinda cool.
If they're really up there, why are they using Hollywood techniques to fake the footage?
Yeah, why?
Now, unfortunately, I can't show you these clips in here today, but I will be sending them to you. Outside the International Space Station, during spacewalks, air bubbles have been recorded on numerous occasions. How is it possible for air bubbles to be present in the vacuum of space? I once questioned astronaut Scott Kelly about this phenomenon. His body language and answers only created more questions. In 2013, astronaut Luca Parmitano nearly drowned during a spacewalk when his helmet filled with water. This happened again just last year. Air bubbles, helmets filling with water, and drowning. Are they in space or are they underwater? Now, what's really interesting is that they train for spacewalks in an underwater pool with a complete ISS replica. Now, surely they aren't filming these spacewalks in an underwater pool and then editing them to appear if they're in space.
Stop calling
Because
me
that
Shirley.
sure would be something, wouldn't it? I'm calling on the Brevard County Commissioners to open a full investigation into NASA's fraudulent practices and use of taxpayer dollars. It costs NASA $3 billion per year to operate the ISS, and if they don't have a darn good explanation as to why they're faking these videos, I and the public would like a darn good explanation as to where our tax money is going. And if they are indeed faking the funk, it is our duty to expose and eliminate this fraudulent and astronomically wasteful ISS program. And look, I know what you're all thinking. The NASA is part of the federal government, and you're just county commissioners. Even if what I'm saying is true, what can you do? But let me remind you, not only is this happening in your county, as public officials, you have the platform and the ability to make a statement or hold a press conference, alerting the public, state, and federal authorities to investigate further.
What time do
you
we
have
give
the
this
power
guy?
to start the conversation. Video evidence of everything I described today will be emailed to you all, and I truly hope we can get to the bottom of this.
There we go.
I
Me
look
too.
forward to the day that $3 billion annual budget is put towards our veterans, our homeless, maybe some of that mental health stuff the young lady just spoke about,
There are
and the
problems on this
revitalization
earth.
of Brevard County.
Okay. So his contention apparently isn't that we've never been to space, as it is with some. But it's
Wow.
that we've got the space station there. We're just not using it. We're not peopling it. There's no astronauts there and have not been for decades, I think they believe.
Okay.
Now, NASA claims there's been glitches in the satellite feed.
Sure.
I mean, it's possible. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
We've all had our Netflix movies waver
Right.
while streaming.
Right?
Same thing.
Yes. Same deal. So.
Well,
I don't know. That's a
good-
weird
good
place
argument.
for that conspiracy theory to come from, isn't it? Is it Brevard?
Brevard County. yeah.
Brevard County. Everybody calls it Brevard County
Oh, they're wrong.
on the national news. Anyway, Brevard County council member calling
County commissioner.
it out. County commissioner. Okay.
Well, he was just a speaker, yeah.
Okay. He's just speaking to the county
Yeah.
commission.
Yeah.
All right. So there's another thing. There's another little problem with NASA. I mean, how many problems do they have?
Well, they're a government agency, so probably countless.
Right. Exactly. And that's the
I
thing.
mean, it's just a money laundering place, right? It's just a money
NASA?
laundering place.
No,
of
no,
business
keep going.
now.
You got it. You got it. No, you were there. You were there.
I mean, would that surprise anybody?
I don't know.
It's
Nothing
a government
surprises me.
agency. Of course, it's a money laundering.
Nothing would
situation.
surprise me, including that we didn't actually go to the moon. That would not surprise me. Nothing surprises me
That
anymore.
would surprise me. I have to admit, I would be quite surprised if we didn't go to the moon. If they faked that, I would be very much
Well, Bart's
surprised.
going to make the case, right?
Yeah, Bart's going to make the case.
Bart's going to make the
Bart
so
Sibrel.
we're joined this morning by Bart Sibrel, who doesn't believe that we went to the moon. Bart, welcome to the Blaze. Hi.
Hello, Pat. How's it going?
Doing well. And you?
You're doing great. You know, I used to believe the moon landings were real, and for the longest time had a shrine to them in my house of pictures that I saw thousands and thousands of times. I worshipped the moon landing. And I have to keep an open mind, and face facts. The first proof that we didn't go to the moon is the fact that you can't have 1,000 times greater space traveling capability in 1969 with 1/millionth the computing power of a cell phone, because the farthest that they can send astronauts today with 5 decades better technology is only to the space station, which is 1,000th the distance to the moon. So what they're claiming is 54 years ago, when all of NASA had 1/millionth the computing power of a cell phone, they sent astronauts on the first attempt ahead of schedule 1,000 times farther than they can send astronauts today with 50 years better technology. So you cannot have greater technology in the past than in the future. That's a scientific and historic and mathematical impossibility, which means it was a fraud. I mean, everything is so upside down. You said at the beginning of the broadcast, they're calling the rocket blowing up a success. That's like saying Kennedy successfully survived assassination. I mean, how can that possibly be a success? And then the second proof is I was financed these films $1 million by someone who builds rockets for NASA who knows that they're fake. He thought it was wrong. He gave me the money, and we uncovered classified footage of fake photography of the crew of Apollo 11 using a 1-foot model, faking that they're being halfway to the moon, with the third track of audio of the CIA telling them to fake a 4-second radio delay. Now, when I saw that, I changed my mind, and all of this is available to see for free at Sibrel.com. It's my last name, S as in Sam, I-B as in boy, REL.com. And at Sibrel.com, you click on the top left button, Moonman Video Links. And I highly recommend Pat and your friend that if you really have an open mind, get a copy of the book. I read it on audio, Kindle, or print, and there's 16 interactive video links. 95% of the people who see the clips and watch the book reverse their opinion, as I had to.
Wow.
Then it gets better or worse. We have, for the first time revealed ever, the deathbed confession of Cyrus Eugene Akers, who was the chief of security at Cannon Air Force Base in 1968. As he's dying, ready to meet God, fearful of judgment, he confesses he murdered a coworker in 1968. He said because he and his friend eyewitnessed something at their base. They were told if they told anybody, they would kill them and their family. The friend of his thought it was morally wrong. He was assigned to kill this person. He killed them because they eyewitnessed the moon landing fraud filmed at Cannon Air Force Base June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of 1968. You don't make up that you're a murderer as you're dying. And he goes into great detail. We released this for the first time in my book, Moon Man, the true story of a filmmaker at the CIA hit list. Now, I can prove the moon landing fraud with one picture. We have 4 incontrovertible proofs that the moon missions were fake. First, you can't have greater technology in the past and in the future. We'll show this footage of them faking with a 1-foot model dated 2 days into the flight, faking being halfway to the moon. That proves it. We have an eyewitness. If I eyewitness one of you guys shooting somebody, that'll put you away. And then we have a simple photograph. I'll share my screen, and you can see it for yourself. That you cannot have this type of picture in sunlight. The sun, according to NASA, is 20 times brighter on the moon than on Earth.
Right.
Here are shadows in sunlight. Go outside at noon on a cloudless day, you and a friend, 2 trees, 2 telephone poles. The sun is 1,000,000 times bigger than the Earth. Shadows run the same direction from the sun on an entire continent. On the right is the moon. Astronaut shadow 12 o'clock, rock 5 feet away, 9 o'clock.
Did they not set up separate lighting, though? Did the astronauts not bring...
Why would they need lighting? Why would they need lighting when it's 20 times brighter than a desert at noon with no atmosphere? And they don't have the power. They don't have the generator. They have no need. It's so bright. Look at this. I'm telling you.
There's nothing to plug into on the moon? That's weird.
I thought they needed to see where they put the flag
maybe
at.
the cheese. But look at this. This is electrical lighting. It's mathematically, scientifically impossible for shadows to intersect at 90 degrees from objects 5 feet apart in sunlight when they're always parallel. This would prove it in a court of law. Take the jury outside, try to replicate this shot in sunlight, you'll get this result.
And what does NASA say about this? Bart, this is Jeff Fisher, Pat's friend. What does NASA say about this? Is this a photographic anomaly? What have they commented on this?
They have said nothing. There's no way to explain it. So they can't explain it, and they can't explain also about, I don't know, 10 years ago, a curator in Amsterdam, after watching my film, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, which you can watch for free at Sibrel.com, opens hermetically sealed box that Neil Armstrong claimed he took a rock, he personally picked it up, personally put it in his pocket, personally brought it all the way to the Prime Minister of the Netherlands, gave it to him, they immediately put it in a box. 10 years, they open it up, it's a fake piece of petrified wood. And no one asks,
someone stole that.
If the moon missions, if the moon rocks are fake, what about the moon missions? And then one of the recordings at Sibrel.com, top left corner, Moonman video links, is a NASA scientist by the name of Kelly Smith, who says this is dangerous radiation belt that surrounds the Earth. It starts at 1,000 miles up, 30,000 miles thick. Every manned mission was below it except going to the moon. He says it's deadly, and he says the following: the technology necessary for astronauts to go through it and back to the moon and back has yet to be invented. This is why they're sending mannequins to orbit the moon and not people. Funny, we could play golf and drive cars on the moon 54 years ago, and today we can't even land. We can't even send humans. We orbit the moon with mannequins, and we're blowing up rockets. Elon Musk, you know how many times it took him to land a rocket vertically? He had 6 computers on the rocket, each 100 million times greater than the Apollo computer. First, second, third, and fourth time it blew up. This is 50 years later, and finally on the 5th time it landed vertically. And yet with 1/100 millionth the computing power, they landed them vertically 6 times every single time. And then they destroyed all the equipment, all the original videotapes, all the telemetry, all the blueprints, all the electronic schematics, which you would never do if you spent $200 billion to build it, but it's exactly what you do if you perpetrated a fraud.
Okay, there's a lot of information there, and I want to talk about all of it. First of all, you're talking about the fact that we, haven't done something that we did 54 years ago. Well, 54 years ago now, almost. In July, it'll be 54 years. And that's an impossibility, that we can only go a 1,000th of the way that we did 54 years ago. But we gave up the program, and there was a lot of pressure on NASA to do that. There was a lot of pressure about, we've got our own problems on this planet. Let's take care of those. Let's stop going to the moon. Let's stop doing these things. And so they gave up the Apollo project, and they gave up going to the moon.
Well, that's
for
their
a long
excuse.
time.
It sounds like maybe you should work for NASA. You're really good at making excuses for them. The fact is, there's never been a technological breakthrough that wasn't duplicated years later, surpassed years later. Imagine Lindbergh flies across the Atlantic Ocean in 1927, and 54 years later, nobody has ever done it. When millions of aircraft, 1,000 times more complicated, are flying across. In 1945, they blew up the atomic bomb, and just 10 years later, it was 1,000 times more powerful. So if they could go to the moon on the first attempt with 1/1,000th the computing power of a cell phone ahead of schedule, we would have been on Mars 10 years later. We'd be in another solar system by now, and there'd be bases all over the moon.
Yeah.
Technology does not. And the strangest thing about this, guys, is it's true. This is how arrogant and corrupt our government is. They actually did fake the moon landing. Cue up the footage. I'll prove it to you right here. Well, I'll show you a 1-foot model of NASA footage dated 2 days into the flight. The lights come up. It's a 1-foot model of the Earth that they're claiming is floating in space. Right there, right in front of your eyes.
Okay.
Call Apollo 11. Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay,
Roger.
Okay, now you heard talk. First we hear the astronauts.
Yeah.
Then there's a 4-second delay because they're only in Earth orbit. And if they answer the question right away, it'll give away that fact. So they had an earpiece in.
Either that or they
CIA
halfway to the
counted off
moon
4
and they
seconds.
can't answer it until 4 seconds later.
Well, so then why is someone prompting them with talk?
I don't know, but that's not proof that the moon landing is
that's proof
fake.
that there's. Wait a minute. That's proof that there's a third secret track of audio prompting him when to speak. They're creating a 4-second radio delay. Now, I don't see a picture here. I heard it was radio, but apparently on playback, people can see it. Show the next clip of their lying and claiming to be 130,000 miles out.
All right.
Hi, Roger. Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Okay, so this is allegedly the blue Earth floating in space from some distance. They say the lens is up against the camera's glass, as it would have at the window's glass, in order to see the Earth far away. So the lens of the camera, they say, is butted up against
Roger,
the
Houston,
window's
Apollo
glass.
11.
Okay.
Calling in from
Okay.
about 130,000 miles out.
Now go to the next clip. You don't need audio from it. Go ahead and play it and let me know when it's playing. And what you're seeing here is the outtakes. We got the unedited reel. At the beginning of it, it says, "Do not show to the public." And not only is the CIA prompting them to speak after a 4-second radio delay goes by, you're seeing that the camera is really at the back of the spacecraft. They've turned out all the lights. And
No, not that one. Not that one. No. Let's see. What is it? Is it in the order that you sent them, Bart? Which clip are you
Yes, the
referring
one
to?
queued up at 39:14.
39:14. Okay, clip 3. So clip 4 on your sheet in there, guys. The one that says, yeah. Go ahead. The 1-foot model, right?
Yeah,
Is that it right
yeah.
there?
See,
Okay.
39:14.
Yeah.
You don't need audio for this.
Mm-hmm. And
Okay.
all right.
Okay. So
So
basically,
something went in front of it.
Yeah.
This is supposed to be the Earth floating in space, but that's a work light. That's the circular window with the Earth out of it in Earth orbit. Watch hands of Michael Collins come in front of the 1-foot model. You see, either that's the hands of God, that's Michael, that's the window with the Earth outside of it. It's so clever. They made it look like the Earth floating in space by having the camera at the back. The lights come up. You see the real location of the Earth and the very bright window with the Earth shine outside. So they just faked with a 1-foot model using the window, pretending to be halfway to the moon, when in fact they're still in Earth orbit. NASA says, hey, the picture looks great. 4-second delay. A third party, not NASA, not the astronaut, says, talk. And then Neil Armstrong speaks. They're faking a 4-second radio delay because they're really in Earth orbit. And what a surprise. 50 years later, they still cannot leave Earth orbit.
So
you see?
let me ask you this, Bart. Did the Soviets cooperate with us on this hoax? Because there's no way we could have fooled the Soviets on this. They were involved in the moon race with us. There's no way they go along with this, right?
Well, here, let me answer 2 questions that people always ask. There are 400,000 people involved. How can you keep a secret from them? Well,
right.
First of all, do you really think the bank teller and the CEO of the bank know about what corruption's going on in the bank? Of course not. Do you think the CIA is so stupid to tell the guy making the glove or the door of the boot, hey, we're really not going to the moon, be sure not to tell anybody?
No, but NASA engineers are not stupid.
Let
You
me
can't
tell you what
fool
a NASA
all the
engineer
NASA
said.
engineers.
A NASA engineer in the command center, who was there for the launch, afterwards said he could tell no difference whatsoever between a simulation and an actual flight. It's just a bunch of numbers going by on the computer screen. He can tell no difference. And there's no independent press coverage. We have to trust the Nixon administration, right? And then what about Russia? Isn't that interesting? Richard Nixon says Russia's our greatest enemy, and during the Apollo program, he suddenly starts selling grain below cost. He says China's our greatest enemy, and during the Apollo program, he goes over there and kisses their butt and opens trade relations because they're blackmailing them. I mean, imagine I had a picture of a world leader with a prostitute. I could upload it to the internet for free, or the smart thing that the Chinese and Russians would do is blackmail them year after year after year.
So we
Of course
coerced
they
the
know.
Soviets to go along with us, is what you're saying.
No, they're blackmailing us. They're the ones who know that we faked the moon landing. I know somebody who works in the command center of the Chinese Space Agency. He told me everybody there knows the moon missions were fake. They have an agreement with NASA not to call them on it in exchange for technology. They're blackmailing the United States.
But all these countries...
Another good reason for the truth to come out.
So all these countries that are saying, China, Russia, India, Japan now, that are all
Europe.
saying we're right. The UAE, I mean, they're all saying that we're going to go. They want to go to the moon, and they want to have their own space stations. That's all just BS.
Well, they may want to dream to go to the moon, like Elon Musk likes dreaming to go to Mars. It'd be nice to see him launch a rocket first. I mean, that's the issue. You can't have greater technology by 1,000-fold in the past than you do now. It just doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense that they destroyed all the technology. One of the clips at Sibrel.com is NASA saying we intentionally destroyed $200 billion worth of equipment. I mean, the B-52 has been around for 70 years. There's still 200 of them in service because nothing works better. You would never destroy a $200 billion investment if you really went, but you would destroy everything if you perpetrated a fraud.
I don't think the B-52 is our main bomber anymore. I think that's the
point is they're still in use. You don't destroy a $200 billion investment.
And Elon has gone to, I mean, we've got, Elon sent the rocket to Mars, right, with the Tesla on it and everything. I mean, is that I believe that.
Well, you can X-ray a toaster 1,000 times; it'll still make toast. But you can't do that to a human being. The reason they can't orbit the moon, the reason why there's mannequins, they say in one of my clips at Sibrel.com, it's deadly radiation.
Right, but you're going 17,500 miles an hour. When you go through it that fast, it's not immediately deadly to astronauts.
But you don't know what you're talking about. I have a millionaire backing me who's a scientist who builds rockets for NASA. He knows all about this. We have papers from NASA. We have papers from the 50s and 60s.
So what? They weren't going 17,500 miles an hour?
It doesn't matter.
What do you
that
allege?
Would still put you.
It's so powerful. The radiation is so powerful it would have killed them instantly? Or
not instantly,
just in the
but
short time
within 2 days to a week, it would have killed them. Right. That's why they can't leave Earth orbit. NASA says it themselves at my clip at Sibrel.com. He says the radiation field is dangerous and the technology necessary to go through it and survive on a trip to the moon and back has yet to be invented. We do not have that technology. He said so himself. When you take a dental X-ray, right, it lasts 1/24th of a second, you have 1/8 of an inch of lead. Their radiation would be 1,000,000 times greater than that. It would last nonstop for 90 minutes, and they had less than 1/8 of an inch of aluminum. That's their shielding.
So, Bart, I want to play this clip again that we didn't get a chance a second ago here. This is the audio that you say is Houston talking with the astronauts, and it's they got the 4-second radio delay, and there's a voice that you hear that says talk. Right, and I think you described this as a voice from someone from the CIA. So I've got two questions.
Well, listen, you guys are in radio. Listen to the EQ,
okay,
and the sound
let's
of
play
NASA. Okay, and then listen.
Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger. We're coming in on Earth.
So here's my question, Bart. Okay, because I'm trying to figure out how do you assign this as the voice of someone from the CIA? How did you get to that conclusion? Is my first question.
Well, because here's the list of 15 people who were there.
Okay.
First of all, the audio EQ. I'm pretty good with voices. I do impressions. I'm better with recognizing voices than names. The person at the beginning, NASA, that's one party. The Neil Armstrong answering the question, that's a second party.
Yep.
And whoever's saying talk is the third
How do you know that's not
party.
somebody at
EQ is
the command center
completely
of NASA?
No, why would they say talk before they speak? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
they're faking a 4-second radio delay because he's still in orbit.
I think what I'm asking.
Well, let me just Let me just publish the list of the eyewitnesses who were there at the time. Okay, here's the proof.
Can I
Go
just
outside.
ask you this?
If you can make wait a minute. If you can make shadows intersect at 90 degrees from objects 5 feet apart in sunlight, I'll say the moon landings are real. That would prove it in a court of law. Okay, here's Cyrus Eugene Akers. He personally eyewitnessed the moon landing fraud in 1968 at Cannon Air Force Base. He stood beside President Johnson, who gave him a list of 15 VIP witnesses who are allowed in, and nobody else.
Okay, we got to take a break here, Bart. Can you hang on for a sec? We'll come back and pick this back up with Bart Sibrel.
All right.
In just a second. A few more questions to ask, and then we'll give you a shot. 888-900-3393. More coming up. We're talking to Bart Sibrel, who does not believe we went to the moon. And we're going to get back to him in a second. A couple of things that he said were that we went to NASA. We went to the moon, and NASA went to the moon on our first attempt. We only went on our first attempt if you don't consider all of the Mercury program, all of Gemini, and Apollos 1 through 10. If Apollo 11 was our first attempt, then, yeah, I guess we made it on our first attempt. But there was considerable effort that went into this for 8 years before we finally got there. The other thing is, he mentioned that somebody admitted to killing a guy on his deathbed. So they only had to... let me ask Bart this, and then Keith has another question for him. But, Bart, so they only had to kill one guy to keep this thing secret? Out of 400,000 people that were involved in the effort to get to the moon.
Our source at Cannon Air Force Base, let me show you his picture. No, they killed, as best as I can tell, about at least 20 people.
20 people? Do we know who they are and who killed them?
I know who some of them are. This is Cyrus Eugene Akers. He was the chief of security at Cannon Air Force Base.
Right.
He confessed on his deathbed.
Yeah, to killing a guy.
He personally eyewitnessed the moon landing fraud, and he killed a coworker to cover it up who thought it was morally wrong. And President Johnson, who he stood beside the first day of filming, gave him this list of 15 people who were there at the time. One of these guys' name is Robert Emenegger. Never heard of him. The science fiction writer who in his own memoir said he was at Cannon Air Force Base in 1968 for a classified reason. And then there's a lot of information in the book that I didn't put in the film. I interviewed Betty Grissom. Betty Grissom was the widow of this guy here. This guy was going to be the first man to walk on the moon. He was a boat rocker. He held a press conference days before he died, calling the rocket a piece of junk. He hung a lemon on the top, took reporters up without permission, and said, "This is a piece of junk. It's going nowhere." His wife told me, who I interviewed for 4 hours.
The Saturn V rocket was a piece of junk? Is that John Grisham said?
That's correct. That's what Gus Grissom said.
And Gus Grissom, yeah.
He told his wife, who told me on January 26, 1967, he comes home from work after that press conference that got him blackballed, and he said, "Hon, for some reason, the CIA is all over the launch pad. I wonder why. Never been here before." The very next day, the guy is dead. According to his wife and his son, who's a 740 pilot, these 3 men were murdered by the CIA.
What about the other 12 astronauts that went to the moon? They all fell in line, and NASA never had another problem with it?
With bribery, blackmail, death threats of your family. Just this guy's source. Okay, Cyrus Eugene Akers, I was just confirming this information in my book, which you can get at Sibrel.com, and less than 2 years ago, government agents went to this man's house and threatened to kill him and his family if he ever spoke to me again about the moon landing fraud. You can see all of these clips right here at Sibrel.com for free. Sibrel.com, Moonman Video Links. It's an interactive video book, and you can see all of these clips. of the $1 million film, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, the fake footage of them using, a hand in front of the One Earth model, you can see that the news media is completely controlled by the CIA, according to Carl Bernstein. He said in 1974, they have 400 journalists at every TV station, every newspaper. Here's clips of the same story, word for word. In the lower right-hand corner, you'll see ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, all saying the same story,
that happens
word
today.
for word.
Yeah.
And here's Kelly Smith saying that technology to go beyond Earth orbit and survive has yet to be invented.
I mean, that's one guy, Bart. That's one guy saying that.
Well, all I know is the most industrialized nation on Earth, which is China, says it says that it's going to take 15 years of development. This is with 5 decades better technology. It's going to take 15 years.
Well, they just landed on the far side of the moon. They just landed on the far side.
You need 100.
Right. But we're going to do that in 2025. In 2 years.
They've been saying they're going to return to the moon. They've said
that is true.
10 times.
I know.
They've said they're going to return to the moon in 5 years.
That I grant you.
Never done it.
They were supposed to go back to the moon in 2018, and it's been pushed back time and time
Well, they're
again.
supposed to go back to the moon in 1985, 1990, 1995.
Well, yeah, but they canceled the program.
Bush said they were going to go to the moon. Clinton said they were going to the moon. Bush Sr. said they were going to go to the moon.
I have a question for you here. When I originally posted this last weekend, an interview that you did, and I asked the audience, what do you guys think? Someone did post underneath my question something about a ham radio operator in Kentucky on July 20th, 1969, that apparently recorded the radio transmissions. And I read I looked for this. When they said this, I looked for the article. I found an old archived article, and it talked about how he aimed his thing up toward the moon. So I guess my question to you there is, how would a ham radio operator possibly receive those signals that night in 1969? Even if let's just say it was faked. Were these radio transmissions?
The same way anyone receives their radio signal. They had launched, according to my source at NASA. I have a source at NASA. He had the top security clearance. He worked on the Apollo program for 6 years. He told me they launched a satellite called the Tetra A satellite to simulate transmissions from the moon so that they could, quote, rehearse the landing. This is why a guy at Command Center, one of the computer operators, said afterwards he can tell no difference between a simulation and an actual flight because they just run a bunch of numbers by on the screen, and they launched a satellite to simulate transmissions coming from the moon, orbiting the moon, bouncing them off the moon. So what? I mean, come on. That's not proof of anything. Show me one other technological milestone in the history of the entire world when they, flew across the Atlantic, when they blew up the first atomic bomb, when they broke the sound barrier, that no nation on Earth, including the one that claimed to have done it, could repeat it 50 years later, when every other milestone, all of those, was 1,000 times more advanced just 10 years later. And for some reason, the moon landing is 1,000 times better technology in the past and in the future. People have to face facts. Our government is corrupt enough. Robert McNamara said on his deathbed, he was defense secretary during the Vietnam War. The whole reason the Vietnam War started, the Gulf of Tonkin, Pearl Harbor incident, he said as he was dying, he and the CIA made that up. That led to the death of 3 million people, including 58,220 Americans. So I think if the CIA is willing to kill 58,220 of their own people and the Apollo 1 crew, they're willing to fake an image on television that can't be independently verified by anybody, because there's no independent press coverage.
Just seems to me they'd have to kill more than the Apollo 1 astronauts. They'd have to kill all the astronauts. I don't see how they could let Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin live. Buzz Aldrin hit you in the face when you accused him of lying about all
Edgar
this.
Mitchell. I go into Edgar Mitchell's house. I pull up a monitor. I show him the fake footage that I showed you, that everybody gasped. Watch it in a theater. People gasp when they see the 1-foot model dated 2 days into the flight and they're faking being halfway to the moon. I showed it to him. He said, "Where did you get this?"
That could be somebody, the camera moved away from the window and somebody's arm or hand got in the way. That doesn't.
I don't know how much NASA's paying you, but you're really good at
NASA's
making.
not paying me $1. I'm just trying to
is,
use some logic here. I mean, you consider
you
proof
guys
of all of this
logic?
with a
You guys
couple of circumstantial
You
things.
guys want to use logic? You
I
should
do.
read the book
I do.
before you interview the author about it. You obviously haven't read the book. You haven't looked at the clips.
I've watched
All
your
of
interviews,
those.
your
We've looked at the
hour-long interviews. We've looked at the clips. We have watched what
I
you
don't know
have
what
to
to
say.
say.
What were you leading us into there? Another clip here. This is a hot mic or something. All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me set this up. Let's not keep derailing everything here. You had just shown this footage to this guy, and the microphone is still attached to him. You're out in the van with all the equipment, and it's still recording, correct? Do I have this so far, correct?
Yeah, we basically showed him the fake footage.
Okay.
He got very angry, said, where did you get this? He kicked me when I had my back toward him.
Okay.
In the commotion, we left a wireless mic on him. My camera guy in the driveway forgot to hit stop recording. So when he and his son are in his house with the door closed.
And whose house is this? Whose voice are we going to hear? Edgar Mitchell. Okay, very good.
15 astronaut. He's talking and his son about calling the CIA to have me whacked, which would not be necessary if they really went to the moon, and I'm some silly person who thinks otherwise.
Okay, let's hear this.
You want to call the CIA? Have them whacked?
There you go. Why would the CIA have to kill some silly person who thinks it was done in a TV studio? Why would the CIA go to Eugene Akers' son's house less than 2 years ago and threaten him face to face to kill him and his family if he ever spoke to me again? Why would shadows intersect at 90 degrees if they were taken in sunlight? Why do they have 1,000 times better technology in 1969 than today? Why are they faking with a 1-foot model pretending to be halfway to the moon?
And why are they only going to kill you when they need
to murdering somebody to cover up the moon landing?
So many people involved in this. Why?
That's just not true. Once the rocket is up, if a computer controller and ground central cannot tell the difference, how can you as a 9-year-old watching it on television? Come on. The guy who worked at NASA
I'm not 9 anymore. I've seen the evidence. I've watched things over the last 54 years. I've watched your evidence. And I mean, you are basing your case on some pretty flimsy evidence.
So really, you think shadows intersecting at 90 degrees that they claim is sunlight is flimsy? Well, I guess you're not a filmmaker, not me.
I'm not a filmmaker like you.
In sunlight, this is electrical lighting. That's what it is. I talked to a professor at an aerospace university, and here's what he said. Okay, this is a guy, intellectual, teaching college, and he said if he saw Neil Armstrong on national TV confessing tearfully that it was fake and he's sorry, the professor said he'd still think he walked on the moon anyway. And I'm afraid you've kind of got that kind of Santa Claus mentality here. You don't want to give up. You don't want to live in a world
if Neil Armstrong had admitted that while he was alive, I wouldn't continue to believe it. But Neil Armstrong never said anything of the kind.
Show the clip at it. Show the clip at the end of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon, where Neil Armstrong tearfully says to a group of students, maybe someday you'll be able to remove one of truth's protective layers. Talking about the moon landing, maybe someday you'll be able to remove.
Did you see the interview he gave 60 Minutes in 2005? I challenge you to watch that interview. 2005, Neil Armstrong, 60 Minutes.
People who study body language and audio fidelity say that is 100% proof that the guy is lying. These are lying experts. Used to work for the government. So they say the interviews with Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong, they're 100% certain they're lying about walking on the moon based on body language, audio inflection, and the semantics that they use.
Did you feel like when he punched you in the face, Buzz Aldrin was lying at the time? Did that seem like he was lying?
Well, I mean, if I walked on the moon and someone thought otherwise, I would find that hysterically funny. But it was like walking up to him in front of his wife and saying, "Oh, your mistress says hello." And so it's for expose. A sword with no point causes no injury. The fact is, I'm exposing that he's a fraud, and he is. and so be it. He may be more
Okay.
active than me in other areas of life.
So, what do you want to come of this?
Well, yeah, what's the outcome?
What is your ultimate goal here? What do you want people to take away here, or are you just trying to sell videos on your website?
According to the dead man's wife, the man was murdered who was going to be the first man by the CIA.
Okay.
And just
So
the
the
one
first
guy had to go. That's amazing. That's amazing.
The
more
first
than one.
document is
He gave us the list.
Right,
when
that's right.
When a government becomes destructive of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, we need to get rid of it. They're killing their own people. Robert McNamara said so. Betty Grissom said so. They're taking away liberty. You have to ask permission to go to church, to open your business, to go to the beach. And if that's your pursuit of happiness, so we have a government that's out of control, and the faking of the moon landing is the epitome of their arrogance, and they have innocent, sincere, but sincerely wrong people like yourself defending murderous criminals. That's how good they are.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
If you want to know the truth, you can see all these clips for free.
I want to know the
at
truth.
Sibrel.com. Get the book, read it. Really have an open mind. Maybe you need to pray first. Please wipe my slate clean in my mind. Nobody worshipped the moon landings like I did. I had pictures on my wall that I saw every day for a decade, thousands of times, thinking it was the greatest thing on earth. Don't be like the professor who said a personal confession from someone who was there would not dissuade him that they really walked on the moon.
I'm not. I told you. If Neil Armstrong admitted that he lied and he didn't go to the moon, that he faked this on some studio set in Nevada, I would not believe in the moon landing.
Okay, well
that
then,
is not the case. However,
why
Not
is
the
Cyrus
case.
Cyrus Eugene Akers' testimony not as meaningful? He's confessing he murdered somebody, and he said the reason was to cover up the moon landing fraud. That's a testimony. Why is Neil Armstrong? The Pope,
one guy again. I mean,
well, you
how
just
do I
said
know
one guy
that's-
would convince you.
How do I? No, Neil Armstrong is a little bit different than this guy I've never heard of before. Neil
Yeah, but they were
Armstrong
both there
actually
at Cannon Air Force Base.
walked on the moon.
They're both
all right.
people, and they were both at Cannon Air Force Base,
Right.
June 3rd of 1968.
Except we have
So-
Neil Armstrong not admitting it, and you're saying that this guy admitted it, but we actually the
Don't know who he is.
the video evidence of that has disappeared, right? Was destroyed.
Yeah, I mean, you don't destroy the original videotapes, the original telemetry, the original schematics, the original blueprints, and the hardware if something costs $200 billion. You just don't do it unless you're covering up a fraud. So the fact that they destroyed everything is actually proof of the fraud, because you would never do that if you really went.
All right.
You can't have 1,000 times greater technology in 1969 than today. And if it weren't for people's emotional attachment, people would see it. You can go to Sibrel.com, see all these clips for free, and it proves the sad fact that unfortunately the moon landings indeed were falsified, which means our government is out of control. They're arrogant. They need to be replaced.
Thanks a lot, Bart. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Interesting
Thanks,
stuff.
Bart.
I mean, whether I agree with you or not, it's fascinating.
Yes, it
And
is.
it's fun to talk about. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
you.
Let me tell you about Eden Pure Thunderstorm. They're having their famous BOGO sale as he continues on Thunderstorm air purifiers. One listener wrote, "It makes a huge difference in our cat litter box stink. I just wish I'd waited for the BOGO deal." Well, here it is. Because if you need another one, or you need 3, or however many you need, you buy one, you get one free. You buy 5, you get 5 free. This will completely eliminate any odor. It also eliminates viruses and bacteria. I mean, it's a fantastic system that you don't have to change filters on. You just take out of the box, you plug it in, you turn it on, and it works for you. Just go to Eden Pure Deals, EDENPURE, EdenPureDeals.com. Use the discount code PAT. That's EdenPureDeals.com, discount code PAT. Shipping is free.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
Pat Gray is here on the Blaze Radio Network.
Good morning, Americans. It's Friday.
I had the feeling we didn't part friends, Bart and I.
I want to apologize to the audience, though.
We probably won't be doing lunch together anytime soon.
I did not ask a question before we left, Bart, and I want to apologize because I really.
What was your question?
He said during the interview that he did impressions, and I really wanted him to do one for us.
I did too.
And I failed the audience.
I mean, we spent almost an hour with him, so we didn't have time.
And I think by the end, I don't think we were where we could make that ask.
He was too pissy by then.
That's exactly when you ask. But that's just me.
Okay.
So
that's fun. I enjoyed it.
I did too.
I thought it was fun.
Too.
I love how he keeps going back over the same material over and over again. There's no
Those
way
are his points, right?
I mean, thousandth of the way there 54 years later.
And I will say, I have watched his videos.
We've
and
lamented
the site.
that very point, but that doesn't mean we haven't been to the moon.
I did not read the book, so I apologize for that as well.
Yeah, I have not read the book either.
I've watched the videos. I've watched interviews.
That means I know nothing.
Right.
I know nothing. Well, what can I tell you? I know nothing. It's like
I don't know what you're talking about. I believe was the quote.
Clink from McHale's. No, it
was
Hogan's Heroes.
Hogan's Heroes, and it was that's not Clink. That was Sergeant Schultz.
Sergeant. Thank you, Sergeant.
My
Schultz.
Grandfather.
Clink was who was Clink then? He was the commandant.
He was the colonel. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Colonel
all right.
Clink. But my grandfather used to sit me on his lap and watch Hogan's Heroes. We'd laugh.
You and your grandfather?
Yeah.
On his lap?
Yeah, he sat me on his lap.
Wow, that must have hurt his legs. Holy cow.
Oh, bro.
What you got, 400 pounds on his lap?
Talk about elder
That's
abuse.
Strong grandfather, let me tell you.
He loved me.
Jeff, you got 80-year-old Jeffy on 100-year-old grandpa's lap.
Hold on, let's do the math on that one.
No, don't do the math. Yeah, don't do
early
the math.
on.
He had his son at 10,
we got it. Yeah.
His son had Jeffy at 10. Don't figure out the math.
How did we get here?
I don't know.
I'm trying to figure this one out.
I do not know, but that happens every day. That's all I know. All right. There was something else I wanted to bring up. There are so many things I wanted to bring up.
Well, that's the thing, right? His shotgun approach, yes. All of it.
I'm going to throw it all out there, and then there's no way you're going to remember to go back and go over. We should have taken them one at a time. I should have stopped him with each point, but he was hell-bent to get in a bunch of stuff.
You sure you want to keep doing these conspiracy shows?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
Okay.
That was fun. I enjoyed it.
Right.
I mean, we gave up the program. So, in 1985, there was no way we were going back to the moon. I don't care who said what, whether Reagan said it or whatever. There was too much social pressure not to do it. Everybody was, all the liberals and the left and even moderates were saying, we got our own problems on this planet. What about the poverty we got on Earth? And all of that stuff, so we weren't going to spend $200 billion.
We're still hearing that. We're still hearing that today.
Still hear it. What are we going back to the moon for? We've already been there. We already did that. Let's move on and take care of our own problems. And, it's kind of hard to argue with that sometimes, except for the fact that exploration does help us on this planet. One, it unites us, gives us common goals, and it also helps us develop new technology along the way. There's something like 20,000 products that came out of the space program in the 60s because of what we were doing.
Those have all been destroyed. Now.
All of it. By the way, NASA denies that. They haven't destroyed the technology from that time period. Have you ever seen Capricorn 1?
Long time ago.
1979, O.J. Simpson and James Brolin, maybe. And I forget. I don't remember who the other guy was. But that was their contention, that they faked was it Mars or was it the moon? But they faked it, and so then the government killed all of those astronauts. They went after them because they were going to expose it. Now, that would happen over time, right? Wouldn't that happen over time?
It would have to.
Not just with the 12 astronauts that walked on the moon, plus the guys who were orbiting the moon waiting for them. So with each of those flights, you had 3 guys who were either orbiting the moon or who had landed on the moon. And you'd have to eliminate all those guys because you couldn't trust
right.
them to keep quiet forever. Plus, all the people at Mission Control, all the NASA engineers, one guy got killed, or even 20 people. You'd have to kill thousands.
Well, unless
to
they
keep
weren't
this
in on
quiet.
it, right? I mean, that's the deal. That's his belief. I believe is that those people weren't in on it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it was this part here that was faked.
Yep.
And all these people believed that it was
That
not.
it happened.
Yeah.
But still, there'd be hundreds, if not thousands, of people who knew about it, who had to make it happen. One of the things I forgot to bring up to him is how good were our special effects in 1969? How good were our movie effects? Were they good enough to fake a moon landing? I don't think so. And make it real for 54 years where everybody believes it? Not based on the movies I've seen from the late 60s. I don't think so. You talk about how good our technology is now. Our technology was crap back then.
Comparatively speaking, for
Comparatively
sure. I mean,
speaking.
and that's kind of his. I mean, and then he circles back to that point, right?
Yes.
Is that
Yes.
because of that, you believe that there's no way we went to the moon?
Right. Let me tell you something you will believe. Fatty liver problems are not good. You believe that? I believe that
We
wholeheartedly.
could quote you on that.
Okay, you can quote me on that. The American Heart Association indicates that adults with fatty liver were 3.5 times more likely to have heart failure than those without. Wow. American Liver Foundation says 100 million Americans have fatty liver. Now, my guess, Jeffy, not able to see your liver, but based on certain other factors that are circumstantial, I'm going to say you might have fatty liver. Heck, I might have fatty liver.
My liver is begging for mercy.
So that's why many of us have a sluggish, fatty liver because, we throw a lot of stuff at our liver. Cholesterol, in your case, Keith, alcohol, toxins, Tylenol, statins, cigarettes. So there's something you could do about it. There is a solution. It's called Liver Health Formula. It's an all-natural supplement, so it's not a drug. It contains 12 clinically proven botanicals that help recharge and protect your liver. Manufactured right here in the United States. I love that. And approved by American doctors. You can try Liver Health Formula. Receive a free bottle of nano-powered omega-3, too, to keep your heart healthy. So try Liver Health Formula by going to getliverhelp.com/Pat and claim your free bonus gift. That's getliverhelp.com/Pat.
Pat Gray Unleashed.
There's never been a technology 50 years later that's gone backward. So, in sophistication. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I am now. I mean, thank you.
Good. I'm glad. That proves we didn't land on the moon. Okay? So shut up about it. You don't know anything if you don't understand that. Go to my website and check out all of my clips.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Got them right there for you. All the evidence is there. And read my book, and you'll understand what I'm saying.
Oh, by the way, before we forget, we should thank Carol in Michigan, who called and was the big winner for bingo yesterday.
We should thank her. We did that so late in the show that we didn't get to take her call.
Housekeeping there. There was a winner. We didn't fake it. And so it was legitimate.
You guys faked the bingo winner!
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
Can you prove where she lived in Michigan?
I can't.
Do you know where she lived?
I don't know where on the hand.
Did you know what city it was, Keith? What city was it?
Daniel dealt with this.
Daniel, what city was it in Michigan?
Mackinac Island.
Mackinac Island is. That's way up there in Canada or near.
No, it's not Canada.
But it's close,
between,
right?
It's between the lower Michigan and upper Michigan.
That's good. You got to have two hands on that one. That's true. You you know what? The UP gets jilted.
This is the
you got to do it like this. Yeah.
The Upper Peninsula.
Houghton is way up here. That's way
okay.
up there,
okay. That's good.
Because normally you just show us this part of Michigan.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it confuses me sometimes.
Most people are from this part of Michigan. The Yoopers, we don't really.
Yeah.
Is that what they're called?
Yoopers.
For real?
And the fun fact about this tale is that I completely made up that the winner was from Mackinac Island. So we got derailed for no good reason.
But still, it was fun because we got to see.
You got to see two hands from Jeffy today.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right. Before we get into the President Brain Dead from yesterday, which is, you're not going to believe it. Well, you will. You probably will by now. Let's go to Paula in Tennessee. Paula, hi, you're on the Blaze.
Hi.
Hi.
You were talking about of course, the lunar landing. And the other day you were talking about theories about how old the Earth was.
Oh, we're getting to that.
And whether it was 1 billion years old or whether it was just 1,000 years old.
Yep.
And there was this Christian scientist who wrote a book, and I wish I could remember the name of the book because it was a fantastic book. But he was wanting to prove the Earth's age, and it had something to do with the lunar module that landed on the moon. And the scientists that built the lunar module were worried that they believed that the Earth was billions of years old.
Okay.
And the solar system. And so they thought that the moon probably had layers and layers and layers of moon dust on it.
Correct.
And
Yes.
so they thought the legs of the lunar module needed to have special pads and special lengths because it would sink. When it landed, it would sink way down into the lunar dust that was on the moon.
Right.
And so when they did that, but when it landed, there was not.
Right. It didn't sink deeply, and it was a few inches. But
they had like the square pads or something on the legs, right? So to equal the weight out.
Yeah.
If the Earth is billions and billions of years old, in the ocean, every year on the ocean floor, a new layer of sediment is formed every year. And if the Earth is billions and billions of years old, the ocean would probably be filled up by now.
Right.
There you go.
So this is a twofer then, Paula.
Yeah.
I see.
Nice. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Paula. Fascinating. Let's go to Robert in Kentucky. Hey, Robert, you're on the Blaze.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you doing, Pat?
Good. Doing well.
Good.
Thanks for asking. You really concerned, or are you just making small talk?
I don't give a crap.
Okay. That's what I figured.
So having worked in the nuclear field with the U.S. Navy, I am uniquely positioned to have an opinion on this.
Oh, good.
And so my question is, and Mr. Siebert raises some good points, but one thing he did not mention, and one thing I've never been able to find information as far as how NASA would have done it, but heat transfer. Because anybody who's got a thermal mug that uses a vacuum to keep heat in for their coffee,
right?
The reason it works is because there's a layer where of nothing in it, which is what space is, and so it doesn't have a way to transfer that heat. So how would those astronauts in space be able to transfer the heat that's being generated by their bodies and by the machinery out of their vehicle to keep it from building up and not only destroying the machinery but also killing them?
That's a good question. It is. I don't know. I have to look into that, frankly. Does that mean that you then don't believe that we went to the moon?
Yes, because as far as I'm aware, we don't have a way of doing that in a vacuum for something that large.
Interesting. He didn't even bring that up.
No, he didn't.
That seems a more compelling argument than really anything he had to say. But I don't know. I'll look into that because that's an interesting point. Appreciate it, Robert. Thanks. I don't know. Maybe the heat didn't build up in space. To the point where you needed to ventilate it.
Jeffy,
because you can't have a ventilation system in space, right?
Right.
There's nothing to vent into your area, into the lunar module.
That's past the radiation line, right? I mean, that's with the space.
Yeah, his point wasn't the radiation.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought he was trying to sell me a vacuum cleaner. I used to sell.
I don't think so, though.
I used to sell compact cleaning systems, and that was the line. What do you got in a vacuum, Keith?
There's
nothing in a vacuum.
How many of those did you sell?
That's what happens with your regular vacuum cleaner. That's why
really
you need.
Good. I like that.
That's why you need the compact.
He's got the
cleaning
pitch,
system.
but I think he only sold 2, and one was to his mom.
That's why you need the compact cleaning system.
How many did you say?
You'd be correct.
Am I remembering that?
You would be correct.
You sold 2.
Yeah, and one was to his mom. That's a fact. That's a fact. We learned on At the Mic.
Your career sounds a lot like mine selling Affleck.
Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, no.
it was
Jeffy never had to pay back the vacuum company.
Oh, you do know that. Yeah, I've told that story before. Every penny I made got charged back to me.
And to this day, you hate ducks because of that experience.
Yes, exactly right. And I want to blast them into space and make them stay in that radiation belt. Bastards. All right. Let me tell you about Magic Spoon. This is a recent discovery of mine. I love it, especially with my dietary situation where I can't have a lot of carbs. I can have 45 grams of carbs per meal. So I've got to be very careful about what I eat, and this fits really nicely. It's Magic Spoon cereal. Fits really nicely into my low-carb lifestyle. I really and this stuff is absolutely delicious. It really is. I don't know how they do it. There's some, well, that's why they call it Magic Spoon. There's some kind of magic involved here. Go to magicspoon.com/unleashed. You get a variety pack and try out all their flavors. They have cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. And they're all absolutely delicious. They're so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So, if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money. No questions asked. You got nothing to lose here. Everything to gain. You're going to find a great cereal that fits into your lifestyle. So, please go to magicspoon.com/unleashed. Get the variety pack. Try it out today. See if you don't love it. And be sure to use my promo code UNLEASHED at checkout to save $5 off your order.
Pat Gray.
Thanks for being with us. 888-900-3393. Pat Unleashed on Twitter. We got some stuff you don't want to miss coming up from Joe Robinette Biden in a few minutes.
You know him, you love him.
You do.
President of the United States of America.
That for sure. So, Keith has put up a poll a couple of times on Twitter.
Yeah.
And did it again today, right?
Yeah, so it just says, if you heard today's interview with Bart Sibrel on Pat Unleashed, where do you stand now on NASA landing on the moon? And it appears that, yes, we went to the moon, gets 56.5% of the vote.
So it's got up about 4.5 points.
No, we didn't go, 22.4.
Okay.
That's down a few. And then maybe we went, not sure, 21.2.
That's still pretty significant.
That seems to be the
pretty
national.
Similar.
That's pretty close to the national
similar.
average, I think, now.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though, the latest national poll I've seen was 9% believe we absolutely didn't, and 19% aren't sure. So that's 28%.
I think
that's pretty big.
Bart says it's higher.
Bart does?
Bart says it's higher now.
Well, if Bart says it, it must be true. Am I right? Who's with me on that?
I am. I am with you.
Good. We got some tweets here to share. Tate Stevens tweets, are you sure, Pat, that the door will be fixed on a specific date? Or are you NASA sure? I'm definitely NASA sure on that. McFlurry, there is no way we went to the moon because Jeffy got stuck between us and it. It would take too much time to fly around Jeffy to achieve that goal. And Bart didn't even make that point. That's the most salient point yet.
No, Bart did not make that point.
He didn't make the point.
He did not make that point.
He would have had me there. Yeah, I would have told him, you had me at Jeffy.
That would have been hilarious had he made that point.
Wouldn't it? Yeah, it would have. You would have liked it, right? You would have laughed. All right, from Smallmouth Bass. So the Viking and Mariner and Voyager with similar technology didn't explore even further. Another good point. Well, not with a person. Not with a person in it. There's also, is it the Artemis project?
Yes.
NASA sent the Artemis rocket out into the solar system, and it did a very close-up flyby of the moon. I think it was within 60 or 65 miles or something.
Oh, wow.
And it took these high-resolution pictures, and what it was doing as it flew by was mapping the areas where we landed. And you clearly see the lunar module on the moon. But I'm sure they faked
that could,
it.
yes.
I'm sure they faked it.
Absolutely.
Because our government is so corrupt. And, that's true. But they have to fake everything.
Yeah, so I mean, the end game for Bart is to burn it down, right?
I don't know. I guess. I don't know. Also from Deepwater Gun Diver, the problem isn't whether or not we did something over 50 years ago. The non-belief in the moon landing is a symptom of a much larger problem. Should we trust the government for anything? That is true. That is true. I am Bird Mama tweets, not saying I believe, but there is an episode of Mythbusters where they actually took every picture and video and recreated everything using materials, film from back then. All of it. At the end, Adam Savage said, I'm not saying it was faked, but it could have been.
Oh.
Whoa. I don't think so, Adam, but that's interesting.
Okay.
We should pull that out and watch it. Give it a watch. Are you convinced, Keith? Did he have you? Did he sway you?
I am torn. I see.
Torn between two theories.
Yeah. I was hoping that by the end of today, I would land on one side or the other, and unfortunately, I am still unable to.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I believed my whole life. Absolutely, we went to the moon. But again, as the same point I made yesterday, I don't know if it was an overtime or on the regular show. Look, when you start at point, government is telling you the official story.
I know that's.
You've already got me out. I mean, I'm already on the other side.
Yeah. Raymond Retzer tweets, he dismisses everything someone else says, but he wants us to believe everything he says without question.
Right.
Yep. Thank you for noticing that. This guy is convincing me it was real. Yeah, I find him less credible today than even from the other interview. Ohio Patriot, love feisty Pat. How much is NASA paying you? A fortune. Just an absolute fortune.
I will say this.
We need to make that a thing on the show.
We do.
If NASA reaches out to me and wants me to continue the lie,
I wouldn't mind.
I'm not opposed to it.
Take a little portion of their budget.
Absolutely.
I don't even need $1 billion. Just give me $1 million a year, and I'll do your bidding.
You want $1 million a year?
From now till the end.
I'm willing to do it for just give me $1 million. We're good.
Yeah. Period. Yeah. Me too. From Ape Lincoln, nice work, Pat. You really earned your paycheck from NASA this week.
I like it.
I hope they feel the same because I'm going to ask for a raise. Fury and Energy. Bart's on to you, Pat. He knows the Blaze is a CIA substation.
Thank you.
Abort.
And I will say that today, there's a guy wandering around here I have not seen before.
I told you I would tell you who that was.
It's obviously a CIA operative.
That's my handler, bro.
Obviously. Are you and Glenn
not for air?
Handled
not
by the same?
For air. How much is NASA paying you?
Right, a lot.
Okay,
a lot. So.
All I know is I've seen it before. So.
My goodness.
Well, if it's something you haven't seen before, it's pretty clear that they're from the CIA.
Hold on. I told Jeffy I will tell you during the break. He literally couldn't wait 2 minutes for this. You're up here 2 times a week. Of course everyone looks different to you.
That's not true.
I wouldn't be surprised if you burn up in a fire tomorrow, Keith. Because,
Thank you.
What did I do?
Thank you.
You're just messing things up. And
how much is NASA paying you, Pat?
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Yeah, right.
Talk.
Thank you, CIA. I love that. I love his argument about the CIA breaking in on the. They faked that they were 130,000 miles from the Earth, so they were pretending to have a 4-second delay when they really didn't.
Right.
And it was, he just jumps immediately to the guy who says, talk. That was a CIA
on the other channel, right?
Yeah.
That was
an CIA. Or it could have, I assume, could have been the NCAA.
Oh, gosh.
SEC?
SEC. The Mountain West Conference.
Don't
I don't
be
know.
ridiculous. Mountain West doesn't have this kind of budget.
That's true. That's a good point.
Hey, we got somebody.
We knew it wasn't the Sun Belt Conference.
No,
we know
no.
that.
No.
But we got Heather. He was in Texas. Hi, Heather.
Yes,
welcome
good
to the
morning.
Blaze. Morning.
Hello, good morning. I just had a quick thought. When you had done your interview, and one of you made a comment about there were so many people on the project and how could it never get out? And it made me think of my grandpa, who was an Air Force pilot in the Korean War, and then he worked for Lockheed on the space shuttle program. And it's not about the moon, but it's about aliens. And my whole life, I always asked him, are aliens real? And he would always say, yes, but I won't tell you anymore. Right?
Yeah.
And up until he passed away 15 years ago, he had this code of honor where he had promised he wasn't going to share any information, and he didn't, even with me. Why would he even care about that? So I just had that thought I believe they landed on the moon, but I also believe that there could be information that a whole bunch of people promised not to tell in that generation just kind of stuck to that code of honor that they wouldn't tell. And they wouldn't even tell their family. So maybe there's stuff we don't know, but I think they went to the moon.
So did he lead you to believe that alien life has appeared on this planet, or
he wouldn't tell me anything?
Wow.
He would just say yes.
Freaking
I know
NASA,
that,
man.
He says he knows that it exists.
Yeah.
Not even that he believes. He knows that it exists, and I would ask him very specific things. I mean, he died when I was about 30, so I was an adult, and I was like, Grandpa, can you tell me X, Y, Z? He's like, no, I won't tell anything.
Interesting. Wow.
So just a thought about how information might have really been kept under lock and key by that generation.
Maybe it was to protect you, Heather.
Oh my God. Well, I'm terrified of aliens, so maybe it was.
Thanks, Heather. Appreciate it. 888-900-3393. All right, we got to get to these clips from the president because he had a group of children at the White House yesterday.
Always good. Nothing's going to turn out better.
Right.
Than Joe Biden with kids.
You know he was triggered by kids being around.
Oh, man.
Goodness.
First, he talked about giving orders as president, and we've seen proof of this. Check this out.
Okay, where's the audio?
I get to give orders, but I take more orders than I ever did, and you're right, babe. What's your name?
What was that?
So start it again.
The girl, the kid asked him a question. He was answering. We got the audio of him asking.
Biggest thing about being president. Yeah. Here it is.
Okay.
You want to ask this question? Do you watch the Stanley Cup playoffs? And if you do, do you have a favorite?
We wanted to see
the first one again.
Can we go
back to the first one. We want to understand what he's being asked there and answering.
Because all the video clips are of this crowd.
By the way, the one thing I thought when I got to be president, I get to give orders. But I take more orders than I ever did, and you're right, babe. What's your name?
There you go.
Okay, so he's talking about taking more orders than he gives, which he's provided proof of that.
Absolutely.
What am I supposed to do here? They told me I can't do this. So.
Oh, my.
Okay, so here he is asked about who he's rooting for in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Okay.
You want to ask this question?
Do you watch the Stanley Cup playoffs? And if you do you have a favorite team?
I did, and I do. The Philadelphia Flyers. Oh,
I'm rooting for the Devils.
All right, that's a good thing.
Right, because the Flyers aren't in the playoffs. So I guess your answer's better than mine.
Man.
That's a good thing.
Now this is amazing. Keep in mind, Joe Biden was in the UK last week. Remember, he went to Ireland.
Got back from Ireland.
Just got back, and he's asked this question.
The last country I've traveled.
Pause it. He's asked the last country he visited. I thought we were going to get the question, but he didn't. So here is the last country he visited.
And I've been to 89. I met with 89 heads of state so far. So I'm trying to think. Where was the last place I was? It's hard to keep track.
Are you serious? Last week, Jack.
I mean, yeah, you're right. Ireland.
Somebody had to tell him. One of the kids told him.
How'd you know that? I don't know, because you're the president of the United States and you're on TV all the time and it says live from Ireland.
Last week. Not that hard to remember for most people who don't have Alzheimer's.
Remember you were there with your son and your sister?
Which by the way, can I just say, I think the only reason Hunter went on this trip was think of the private time they had to get their story straight on the flight to and back as they prepare for all the questioning happening right now.
I thought he was avoiding process servers, but maybe that was just me.
Maybe it was that.
And there's that. Because there's a trial going on right now, right? About his alimony or his child support.
Yeah.
His lawyer. Now, I haven't seen the clip on this, but I was told his lawyer actually said, because they want his tax records, and they can't get them because it's on that computer that's in the repair shop. Supposedly, his lawyer actually said that.
That's amazing.
Oh, my gosh. Unbelievable. He was also asked what his favorite ice cream flavor is. They're asking the tough questions, man.
At least, you know what?
The tough ones.
They get more access to Joe Biden than the press does.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Well, they're kids.
Now she's talking my language. What's my favorite ice cream flavor? I may be among the dullest presidents of the world because I'm known for two things. My Ray-Ban sunglasses and chocolate chip ice cream. That's my favorite.
I will say this.
Same line he used earlier this week.
Same one.
I will say this: you are not the dullest president ever, because those two things you're known for a lot more.
Yeah.
You're known for a lot more.
You're known for destroying the country once and for all.
I'm known for two things: dementia and evil.
Well, hold on. Hold on. I got a third one, Mr. President. You're also known for pooping in your pants.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't want to mention that one.
I'm just telling you what you're known for.
Then he forgets one of his grandkids. Now, this is aside from the illegitimate, the love child.
He doesn't.
Right?
That one doesn't exist.
We get to that.
They do not acknowledge the love child. But here he is forgetting one of his legitimate grandchildren.
I have 6 grandchildren, and I'm crazy about them.
Are you?
I speak to them every single day. Not a joke. Matter of fact, I just got finished going through the calls.
So you don't.
Only one of them answered the phone. But at least I got
Caller
to leave a
ID.
message.
They're like, don't answer it.
My oldest granddaughter is named after one of my daughters who I lost in an accident a long time ago, and her name is Naomi. And then I have number 2. I have a daughter who works in the environmental movement, and her name is Finnegan.
Okay, we got there.
And named after my mom. And number 3, my granddaughter, I call her my All-American girl. She was a great little athlete.
And her name?
And she's about to graduate from college.
What's her name?
In about 2 weeks.
And her name is?
And her name is, she's,
sweet
the nickname,
her nickname.
we call her is Maisie.
Because I don't remember her actual
Her
name.
granddaughter, who I just spoke to, did get to speak to.
That's a long way to
and
that
her
nickname.
Her name is Natalie.
Okay, we got
and
4.
she is a senior in high school, about to graduate and go off to college where her daddy went to school.
All right, what else?
And then I have a grandson who's going to be a senior in high school.
Okay.
And then now I have a new baby boy. He's 3.5 years old, and his daddy named him after his brother, my deceased son, and he's Beau Biden. So and guess what? They're crazy about me.
Well, they're crazy if they actually like you. That much I'll grant you. Good heavens, it's just embarrassing.
Yeah, but he
didn't know the name of the 5th.
He couldn't think of it.
Right? He could not think of it. Right there.
Yeah, and let's see.
Oh man,
He's cute. She wears black shoes.
7. So he has 7 grandkids.
Counting the Hunter.
I don't think so.
Love child? No.
Town and Country Magazine. Get to know all 7 of the Biden grandchildren.
Okay.
So
does he specifically mention or reference Hunter's daughter in Arkansas? There's no.
Oh no! Wait, hold on. Yeah, okay. This Town and Country 7 baby doe.
Yeah, they do not acknowledge that.
So that's the clip where he's just completely ignoring that she exists.
Absolutely,
Got it.
Because he's even said in other interviews where, like he said there, he said he calls them. Remember that one interview when he talked about he always talked to his grandkids every night and calls them, and that was. He mentioned them again and not mentioned Love Baby.
Love Baby.
So he was also asked what it's like inside the White House.
Okay.
Yes, baby.
What is it like in the White House?
Well, what's it like in the White House? Well, here, come here.
Little girl, come here.
You hang with me for a
Creepy,
minute.
man. Creepy.
And you don't want to go in the White House? Okay, all right. Okay.
Not with you, stranger danger.
Not a bad choice for that.
Good
girl.
instincts by the little girl.
Very.
I'm not going to do that.
Apparently, a White House staffer sent a child to tell Joe, it's time to go. Hey, go tell the president. We got to go now.
Can I please have a fist bump?
Mr. President, I heard you have to get back to the Oval Office.
Look at him wandering around.
What was that?
What was that?
What was that?
Listen.
Oh. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
I said you have to get back to the. I heard you had to get back to the Oval Office.
Oh my gosh. That a White House staffer sent that little girl to a microphone to tell the old man to get out of here.
Yeah, it's an embarrassment.
Yeah,
an embarrassment.
You just invited a little girl into the White House, so we're gonna need. Go tell him to wrap it up. Let's go.
Got a really exciting announcement, though, that I think our Blaze TV family is going to love. It's no secret that the left is waging a war against comedy. We're not allowed to joke about anything these days without incurring the wrath of the woke mob.
Except Jeffy.
So it's time to fight back. Yeah, they don't care about Jeffy.
Yeah, we do that all day.
And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to fight back. So that's why we're so excited to announce that Blaze TV is embarking on a mission to save comedy from the humorless left. And we're launching this mission next Thursday, which is May 4th, by releasing our first ever full-length comedy film. The movie is called Reopening, and it's the kind of comedy flick that woke Hollywood would never release. Reopening is a mockumentary following the cast and crew of a small community theater struggling to reopen during the COVID-19 pandemic. Brilliant work of satire, and they use humor to expose and ridicule the insanity that we had to live through, and we're just going to laugh at it. So join us on Thursday, May 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern for the premiere of Reopening. If you don't have your Blaze subscription, get it now. BlazeTV.com/reopening. Use the promo code reopening, and you'll get $20 off your subscription. $20 off. BlazeTV.com/reopening. Promo code reopening for $20 off.
This is Pat Gray Unleashed.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of details on this. I just know that there's a guy, Gal Luft, who apparently is a whistleblower against Biden corruption. And apparently he's disappeared. Here's a tweet of his from a couple of months ago. I've been arrested in Cyprus on a politically motivated extradition request by the U.S. The U.S. claiming I'm an arms dealer. It would be funny if it weren't tragic. I've never been an arms dealer. DOJ is trying to bury me to protect Joe, Jim, and Hunter Biden. Shall I name names? Well, he's gone now. We don't know where he is. So
freaking NASA.
NASA did it again.
I can't believe it.
Yeah, so there you go.
Another one.
I know.
Another. It just doesn't stop with that agency, does it?
They get their hands in everything. When you give them $3 billion a year.
They do. Golly, wow.
So I don't know. That's a story to keep an eye on.
That's interesting.
Sure.
That is interesting.
That is very interesting.
Has anybody checked Houston, NASA headquarters for this guy?
No.
What if he's up in the radiation belt? What if that's where they've put him, and they're punishing him by making him linger in it and just soak up all that radiation?
Yeah, it's possible. It's definitely possible.
That's what's happening. I'm alleging that is what's happening. All right? The only way to counteract it would be to get a bunch of Kexi cookies and eat them. Then you can counteract. That'll soak up the radiation.
I'm a fan of that.
Fine. Yeah. We've got our new Mother's Day package out, and it comes with this really excellent hummingbird bread that my wife made. She was mixing up the materials for it.
I've never had hummingbird before, so
it's actually not made from hummingbird. But I think
now he's disappointed.
Delicious. I am kind of.
My palate was ready.
And if you use the promo code when you go to Kexi.com, KEKSI.com, you use the promo code the Jeffy. You'll get 18% off.
You're welcome, by the way.
Your entire order. And if you order before May 8th, so you don't have a lot of time here, but we guarantee delivery by Mother's Day if you order by May 8th.
Nice.
Kexi.com. Do it today.
How many hummingbirds does it take for bread?
17.
Small.
Yeah, they're little. They're little.
Pretty soon, the hummingbird will become extinct because of the hummingbird bread.
Do we want to get into the Randy Weingarten stuff from the American Federation of Teachers, who was before Congress on Wednesday? Would we like to play that? Where she?
I want to do that more than I want to live.
Okay, well,
that's
really strange.
Now's
but
the chance.
All right, so let's see. This is her trying to change history, like all of the authoritarians have been doing. They've been on the Let's Change History tour lately, and she's the latest to tell us that, we totally didn't want lockdowns. We wanted schools open from the beginning. Watch this.
Oh, my gosh.
Wait, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Congressman Raskin. We spent every day from February on trying to get schools open. We knew that remote education was not a substitute for opening schools, but we also knew that people had to be safe. And maybe it's because I live in New York City. I live near a hospital.
No.
Every other minute there was an ambulance. There we go. There was terror.
Was there?
Our members were terrified. Others were terrified. And what we were simply looking for was clear scientific guidance. And when we couldn't get it, we did it ourselves. And we worked with doctors and we worked with others. And we just tried to get it out there.
Well, you're a liar. You're a lying sack.
Yeah, we got some fact checkers on Twitter that basically reminded us.
I mean, holy cow.
Good. Weingarten, here's some of the reminders. Weingarten is misrepresenting her prior positions. She called attempts to reopen schools in the fall of 2020 reckless, callous, and cruel. Oh, but you're trying so hard to reopen these schools all across the country. Her union pushed aggressively at the local level. Areas with high union influence remained closed much longer than others. And some lockdowns at the urging of the teachers union continued into 2022.
Heck yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's still some areas
and
where...
they still say they didn't update it enough. They were supposed to update all their ventilation systems and all their drinking fountains, all of it. We can't open because we don't have new filtration systems.
Now, this is interesting because she went on CNN, and I'm sure she was expecting a cakewalk on CNN.
Yeah, this was last night.
Didn't really happen.
Scott Jennings, this is their senior political commentator who surprisingly
actually
confronted her. Yeah, watch this.
Awesome. We don't know each other, but speaking on behalf of millions of American parents, I have 4 at home. I had to teach them at home. My wife had to teach them at home. I am stunned at what you have said this week about you're claiming to have wanted to reopen schools. I think you'll find that most parents believe you were the tip of the spear of school closures. There are numerous statements you made over the summer of 20, scaring people to death about the possibility of opening schools. And I hear no remorse whatsoever about the generational damage that's been done to these kids. I have 2 kids with learning differences. Do you know how hard it is for them to learn at home and not in a classroom that was designed for them? And for you to sit in front of Congress and the American people and say, I wanted to open them the whole time. I am shocked. I'm stunned. And there are millions of parents who feel the exact same way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did she slither off or?
Wow. You don't see that very often where somebody gets flat called out on their blatant lies on CNN.
I know.
Like that. Of course, he was in a position of a position with the George W. Bush administration, right? What did it say there at the bottom? I'm not familiar with the guy, but I think show us a still shot from pretty much I think anywhere in what he had to say, and I think it mentions what he was with the Bush.
Special assistant to president.
Okay.
To W.
There you go. Interesting. Also, we discussed the latest trouble for Representative Eric Swalwell, who's been called out for his relationship with Yum Yum lately.
Wait. Yeah, you kind of read through the dialogue yesterday, but here's the actual video.
We didn't play the video because it's kind of hard to hear because everybody's talking over each other, but here's what happened.
Mr. Chairman, Ms. Rodriguez, I apologize that you're here for a hearing on the border. They don't want to talk about a border. Mr. Swalwell is down there. Obviously, everybody knows he's made some comments. He's got a checkered past. He's alleged relationships.
A checkered past?
I would ask. It's my time. Alleged affairs, relationships with
No.
Yum Yum.
You don't get to say that.
He had alleged relationships with Yum Yum.
He asked the gentleman's words to be taken down. I'm not going to say that.
Chairman,
he asked the gentleman's words to be taken down as casting a slur on another member.
I am here.
He's making... I asked the words of the gentleman be taken down as casting a slur on another member.
Let us have some order and civility here, and we will take up the issues
I got your
one
order
by
and civility.
Yeah. Eric Swalwell does not appreciate it when people bring up the Fang Fang situation.
Tough.
Yeah, I know.
Shouldn't have done it.
I know. Speaking of things that shouldn't have been done, did you see that San Francisco just repealed their law boycotting conservative states? Because it didn't hurt the conservative states. It hurt San Francisco.
Awesome. Really?
I love this.
No.
Yeah. They voted 7-4 to stop the boycott of the 30 states that were boycotting.
But what if those states don't want government employees from the city of San Francisco showing up in their states?
Yeah, no kidding.
Can we say no thank you?
I hope so. I think that would be brilliant.
I was just reading before the show today where they're San Francisco. I mean, they got bigger problems than worrying about
Boycotts.
whether conservatives are coming or not.
Yes,
I mean,
do.
they have that one building downtown sold for $300 million in 2019. 25-story glass building.
In 2019.
$300 million.
Okay.
It just put on the market. They're going to try to get $60 million.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I'm going on record. I'll give them.
Wow.
I'll give them $50 cash right now.
1/5 the cost. Is it a fixer-upper now?
Yes.
Did somebody trash the building
I don't
really
know.
badly?
Maybe we knock it down, start again. I don't know.
Man.
But, I mean, that's horrific. I mean, good luck.
Yeah, that's something else. That's a good buy. We should.
That is. I know.
Pool our money and see if we can come up
Well,
with.
I just offered them $50. If you want to throw in some more, fine. I mean, I'll share. We'll put all our names on the building.
That's really generous of you. Appreciate that.
I'm fine with that.
Also, author Virginia Soul Smith,
love her,
claims that the desire to be skinny promotes white supremacy and patriarchy.
Nothing says not being a racist.
Right?
Me.
Like Jeffy.
Thank you.
Have you just alluded to the fact that you're overweight?
No, I'm not
Is that what you
skinny.
say? Oh, okay. All right.
You effectively said that.
Athletically overweight.
Yeah, what are the quotes in there? There's some good quotes in the story.
She told NPR's Fresh Air podcast that the United States society desire to be skinny and adversity to fatness can be traced to the end of American slavery.
Oh, my gosh.
As a way of preserving out-of-touch white beauty standards. The thin ideal is definitely a white ideal. When we trace the history of modern diet culture, we really trace it back in the United States to the end of slavery.
Of course we do.
Can't believe these people. So, if you don't want to be Jeffy-sized, you're a white supremacist, and you support the patriarchy. You should be ashamed of yourself.
This is Pat Gray Unleashed.